Welcome back. Since I've apparently lost control of my life, we're doing this tier list. I probably don't have to explain this, but since you've already read the title, we're doing a 40k faction sex appeal tier list. Just to clarify what I mean by that, we'll be ranking each faction's prospective sex appeal, and moreover how attractive their members are. We're ranking them between S and F tier, with F being no sex appeal at all, and S being extremely sexually appealing. Since apparently this is what I'm doing at 3 o'clock in the morning. But with that out of the way, let's get on with this terrible idea. To begin with, we have Chaos Demons. Yeah, I'm really starting out strong with this one. Chaos Demons... I don't think Chaos Demons have genitalia. I mean, obviously there's Slanesh, but I think even then they don't have genitalia. Plus, Cornite demons are filled with, like, spikes, and Nurglite demons have, like, oozing, like, pores of, like, pus and, like, virulitic disease. And Tzeentch demons probably have, like, tentacles coming out of everywhere, which probably bumps them up a place or two. I don't think many people would find Slaneshi demons particularly appealing, just because of how, like, awfully depraved they are, with the, like, lobster claws and, like, weird tongues and stuff. I think just based on, like, Tzeentchian tentacle mishaps, I think most people would rank them between D and F tier. I'll be generous and I'll give them a D tier. There's enough that people can find them appealing, but I wouldn't want to. Oh boy, yeah, great. Next we have Custodes. This isn't gonna be divisive at all. I picked a great time to make this list. Okay, well, putting aside female Custodes are already just like 10-foot tall, like muscles on muscles demigods. I'm hovering between B and A tier, I guess. There's very little. I suppose people would find them sexually appealing, but they're so far gone from what, like, humanity is that I don't think I can put them any higher into S. Custodians, just because of how inhuman they are, especially since the fact that they're grown in a test tube, I don't think there's many people who are, like, attracted to Custodians, not to the same extent as there are who are interested in, like, Marines or Guard or Tau or anything like that. I think most of the Custodes fan base, at least prior to this new codex, were mainly just interested in them because they looked cool. I mean, when we're talking about sex appeal, we have to bring up the naked, oiled-up Custodes in the older codex lore. Yeah, okay. Purely based on naked, oiled-up Custodes, they're going in A tier. I'm not taking any of the criticism on this. We're also ranking Marine factions based on the older codexes, so we'll do one for Salamanders, Raven Guard, White Scars, and then we'll do kind of a blanket one for overall Space Marines. But on that note, we have Salamanders. I mean, it's kinda... they at least have genitalia, working genitalia at least, so that puts them above Chaos Demons. I don't think there's many people who are a big fan of a charcoal leathery skin and pitch red eyes. They are quite large though. But they're also really into fire. I don't think there's many like sane people who are into that as well. I think just based on that metric we gotta put them in. I'm hovering between C and B tier. I'll put them in C just because I feel like the stuff that's against them, sort of like sexually, is probably balancing out with their appeal, so they're kind of in the middle road. We'll put them in C tier. Okay, well, great. Next up we have Orcs. I don't know if Orcs have genitalia actually. They reproduce via like spores. They don't have genitalia. They also, I don't think they can feel sexual attraction at all, so I don't know where we'd put them on this list. They're also Cockneys, which I mean that probably bumps them down a few grades. I mean, I don't think there's anyone I sincerely hope there isn't anyone out there who's attracted to the orcs from Warhammer. Other orcs in, like, I don't know, D&D or Warcraft or something I can at least understand, but I don't think there's many people who like the orcs. We'll put them, I guess, we'll put them in D tier. That seems fitting enough. They're also genderless. Yeah, okay, we'll put them in D tier. Alright, Raven Guard. Raven Guard are next. I think Raven Guard are going to be a cut above most of the other Marine factions, mainly because people are attracted to emo boys. Well, they're a little bit less than they were previously. If this was the early, like, 2000s or 2012, I'd be putting these guys in S tier. They're kind of moody and, like, into poetry as well, which I guess people like. That's something that people find attractive. Like I said, plus the black on black with, like, the Skrillex hair. Those are, like, pale, which I think a lot of people like. I think just on that metric, we're gonna have to put them between A. I'm hovering between A and S tier because I think a lot of people, if a Raven Guard person, like a Raven Guard Marine, was to be transplanted into real life, I think a good majority of people would find them attractive. We'll put them in A tier for now. I may change these around at some point as things come in. Harlequins. Harlequins, lovely. I mean, there's a subset of people who are really, and I mean really, interested in clowns, but they're not even clowns, they're like, well, they're Harlequins, as the name suggests. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really into elves. I think just based on that, I'm not going to put them any higher than, or any lower rather than C tier. They don't seemingly get as much content as the other factions of Eldar, so I don't think I can put them any higher than maybe B. Between B or C, I guess. Plus, they don't really take off their masks at all. We'll put them in C tier for now. Maybe as I go through the other Eldar, they may get bumped up or down, depending. Alright, White Scars. I'm not going to touch on them being Asian, right? That's off the table, but I mean, people like bikers, I guess. People are into guys who have bikes. Those have long flowing hair. They like poetry. They're really into killing people and going fast. People are into that, I guess. They certainly have their qualities. We'll put them in B tier. There's not much more I can really say about them. Alright, well, I'm not going to be ranking Chaos Knights because I don't even know how I do that, unless I rank the Knight Pilots, but even then you see so little of them. I mean, yeah, you know what, whatever, we'll do this. I was going to say there's no one who's attracted to mechs, but I was wrong considering that this is the internet. I mean, I think there's not a lot I can really say about Chaos Knights. I'm sure there's people who are, like, really stimulated by them, but I'm gonna have to put them in D tier. This is probably where Loyalist Knights are gonna end up as well. Oh boy, I've been dreading this one. Tyranids. Okay. Now. Alright, look. Alright, S tier. Now, let me explain myself, okay? There's enough people out there who are really into, like, tentacles that I think like S tier is a good place for them. I think a lot of people would find them appealing in that regard. You know what? Like, I think I'd look at a tier and go, you know what? I wouldn't jump for that, but it's a possibility. I'm not explaining myself any further. Alright, Death Guard's going in F tier. Don't debate me on this. They're covered in, like, weeping sores of pus and disease. They're also, like, rotting and have, like, mucus and bile spilling out of their eyes constantly. They're going in F tier. If you disagree with me, then you're wrong. Oh boy. Oh, Space Wolves. There are definitely people who like the Viking aesthetic. I don't know any personally, but if Reddit has told me anything, it's that people are really into the Viking aesthetic, especially if they're like, I don't know, middle-aged, moderately balding, mildly overweight Americans. I'm not even gonna touch on the werewolf part. That's out of my realm of focus here. I think just with how boisterous they are, people would find them attractive. So I think I'm hovering between A and C. I think just based on that, we're gonna have to throw them in B tier, because I don't think there's like, they don't have one like specific defining trait, like something like, I don't know, Raven Guard with the emo that would make them especially attractive to modern people. So just based on that, I'm gonna have to put their faction in B tier. Alright, Chaos Space Marines. I'm gonna they're gonna be higher than Death Guard certainly, but I'm gonna probably put them in D tier. Just because of like all the spikes and like weird Slaneshi stuff, it probably wouldn't be all that appealing if you saw them in real life. Also, I don't think they have any really like sexually appealing like faction stuff. Now, to go back to the Tzeentch thing, there's some like weird stuff with tentacles if you look at like Thousand Suns models who have like 3 arms and like 47 eyes. There's definitely somebody who's into that, and I think just based off of that, we can't put them in F tier, but we're not putting them any higher than D tier, so they're going in D. Imperial Knights, that's like the same story as Chaos Knights. I'll put them in D as well. There's not a lot I can say about that. Alright, Dark Angels. Dark Angels. I don't think Dark Angels as a faction have like people who are overly like, who find them overly sexually appealing, if I'm honest with you. Not compared to like things like Blood Angels or Ultramarines or things like that. There's just not a lot about them I can really say, and I think just based on that I'm gonna have to put them in. Oh, well, actually, they have like the Arthurian knight thing going on with like the long flowing hair and the knightly honor. I can definitely see people being attracted to that. And I think, I'm hovering between putting them in B or C tier, honestly. I'll put them in B tier for now. Alright, Thousand Suns. I don't want to hear anybody commenting about Thousand Suns fanboys, alright? This is a canon list. But regardless of that, I'm putting them in S tier, alright? I'm going back to the whole Tzeentch tentacle thing. There's too many Thousand Suns models like those, what are they? Scarab? No, not Scarab, but called Terminators. Exalted sorcerers who have like tentacles coming out of their arms. There's enough people who are going to be attracted to that they're going in S tier. Plus, they're like, I think there's a lot of people in modern times are like really into like nerds. I'm not just saying that as a bias, but I think there's like, I think people on TikTok would be like, I think people on the internet would be really into like hyper buff tentacle nerd wizards. That's definitely like a tag you could put into Reddit and find some horrid art if you needed to. Alright, Drukhari are going in F tier. Don't debate me on this. They turn you into like a picture on the wall of some like weird Geiger art. No, there's nothing. Oh, I was gonna say there's nothing like sexually appealing about them, but then I realized there was some deviants out there who'd be really into like getting skinned and like being used as like pain vectors for the rest of time. Yeah, they're going in. By the number of people who would find them sexually appealing, I think we really just honestly have to put them in like, oh god, C tier. They're awful, but the amount of people who would be into that is far too high for me to put them into F tier. Oh boy, we have Sororitas. Oh, no one saw this one coming, I'm sure. Being that they're like the only mono female faction in 40k, there's a bunch of sweaty, fat, disgusting nerds who are gonna be all up in them. I've seen far too many sisters players at tournaments who are over like 250 kgs. Oh god. People are gonna get mad at me if I put them any lower than A tier. So it's a lot of like really early sisters art was like, it was really into like almost black metal rock, like 80s scantily clad women on mountaintop holding sword type of art. Nowadays they've sort of shifted to them being more like grotesque cybernetic like nuns, which I think is a cooler aesthetic for them really. I still like a lot of the like 80s almost black metal John Blanchard stuff, but we're getting off topic. Sisters, We'll put them in S tier just for old time's sake. Oh boy, Genestealers, Genestealer cults rather. They're close enough to humans that I think that I'm like 80% sure most people would be into them. I also have like the whole like alien weird biology stuff that I'm sure people would be into. Oh, they're also bold though. Yeah, okay. Being bold knocks them down a couple points on the sex appeal tier list, but I think just by the virtue of them being like one of the more like humanly recognizable like factions, I think I'm hovering between S and A tier. We'll put them in S tier because there's not a lot of like really like kind of average human adjacent factions to the point where I think we may need to fill out S tier with them. I can definitely see people being like attracted to them. Iron Hands don't want to feel any human emotion, so they're going in D tier. Plus, I don't think people find like cold, mechanical, robotic hands attractive. Well, I don't know. Who am I to judge? But yeah, they're going in D tier. They're just they're too far removed from humans. I don't think they could feel attraction. They're far less appealing compared to the other Marine factions, honestly. Oh boy, we got Tau. I think just based on like the community's overall opinion, they can't be any lower than A tier. I mean, they are filthy aliens, but a lot of people are really attracted to the Tau. For reasons I can't quite comprehend, considering they have like leathery, like thick skin and hooves, and I don't think, do they have hair? They do have hair, but like leathery blue-colored alien skin, hooves, and they're also like, I think they're shorter than humans, so on average they'd be like what, 5'3", 5'5". I mean, that's certainly appealing to some people, and I think just based on like community opinion, I can't put them any lower than like. People are gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna have to put them in S tier. Grey Knights are just like stupid. I don't think anyone likes them. I don't think even Grey Knight players like them, so they're going in F tier. Space Marines as a faction will do near the end. Right now, I want to put Ultramarines. Ultramarines are one of the more basic Marine factions, so I think people would find them a little bit more attractive than, say, like Salamanders. Plus, they have the gene seed of Guilliman, and Guilliman's a very handsome man compared to someone like, I don't know, Angron or something. So I think just based on that, I can't put them any lower than B tier. Just because of, I guess just because of how basic they kind of are, they lack kind of the eccentric qualities of the other like chapters, meaning they'd be a little bit more appealing. There's certainly a lot more people who could see being like stimulated by the Ultramarines than by a lot of the other Marine factions. I'll put them in A tier next to Raven Guard. Astra Militarum going in S tier. They're basically just like normal humans. If an Astra Militarum like Cadian Shock Troop just changed clothing and got on a bus, I don't think I'd like look twice at him or her, because they're essentially just normal humans. As such, yeah, like they out of everyone here, Militarum are probably the most like sex appeal out of any faction in here, to normal people at least. Alright, Craftworld Aeldari. Like I said before with the Drukhari and the Harlequins, there are a lot of people who really, really like elves. So I think just based on that, I kind of have to go higher, just because the like overlap of people who really, really like elves and people who are into 40k Aeldari is going to be so high. They have to go in A tier, I guess. Alright, Mechanicus. Mechanicus, I'm hovering between S and A tier, because they are human, and they're much more human, well, much more generically human than some of the other factions, but they're just covered in like layers of cybernetic augmentation, to the point where I think like rank and file Mechanicus, like Skitari or Tech Priest, could be human enough that they could be sexually appealing, but someone like a fabricator general who's turned himself into like a building worth of like cybernetic augmentations, I don't think they'd find very stimulating. Plus, there's a lot of people who are really into like mechanical stuff. I think that meshes really well. Plus, there's that one artist who does femboy Skitarii. Yeah, based on that, I'm putting them in S tier. Alright, Blood Angels. Blood Angels, I think, are probably the most attractive out of all the Loyalist Marine factions. So, I think they're gonna have to go in A tier, maybe even S tier, because of... I mean, it's noted, like, how beautiful they are when you derive from Sanguinius' gene seed, plus with the whole, like, angelic visage stuff. Now, I mean, actually, the whole, like, needing to consume flesh and blood and horrible psychological rage issues, I mean, yeah, that's gonna bump them down a place or two. I think just based on physical qualities, plus they're really into, like, art and stuff, and, like, painting and doing, like, calligraphy and whatever, so, yeah, they're going in A tier. Alright, second to last, we just have Space Marines in general. So this is just like generally loyalist Space Marines regardless of chapter. Most Space Marines are kind of like, do people find Marines attractive? I think they just like them because it's like a big buff man. I mean, there's not a lot more I can really say about Marines considering what we've gone through so far. We'll put them into B tier, just above middle of the road. Necrons don't have genitalia, and even if they did, I don't think... people more like Necrons for the meme, I think, because they're like funny little skeleton boys. I don't think there's many people who are particularly like entranced by their visage. I'm trying to think if I've ever heard people like be really interested in like Necrons. I just can't think of a time when I've heard that, so I guess they're going into D tier. They're going into D tier. I don't know what the hell I was talking about before. Well, that's my stupid list. I'm definitely gonna receive some death threats in the comments by people telling me I should have put fucking Drukhari in S tier or something. I'm immediately regretting this as an idea. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed. This is the video for today. Goodbye.